American Forked.
Welcome to the American Fork Podcast, where a group of friends get together and record, a podcast. We all grew up a couple miles from each other, but now we're worlds apart. I'd say that. Yeah. Worlds. And, but that doesn't keep us from being friends and talking and understanding each other sometimes.
Except for Beagle.
Yeah, I don't get that guy.
He wouldn't even, acknowledge me on his own birthday.
Oh, wow. This has just turned into a therapy session. How did that make you feel?
Yeah, dang it, I was going to ask that question.
I felt like...
Used? Manipulated?
And
Okay.
betrayed.
Well, the emotional man to the right of me is Phil. Hi, Phil.
Someone's sitting on a leather couch.
What's up?
Yeah, we are in an interesting location today. Jake, right?
Yeah, we're on set.
We're on set. If set is Trent's bedroom, then we are on set.
No, it's his living room.
I don't know what it is. There's a bed in here, therefore there's a bedroom.
Yeah.
Hi, Trent.
What's up, Trent? Thanks for your house.
Trent's out of town, and we just literally took over his house.
By the way, Trent, we're using your house today.
Yeah.
He's donated his entire
Livelihood.
his deed.
Yeah.
He just signed over to the American Fork Podcast.
It's pretty noble.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, because we don't have an official business name, so we don't know how that's going to work out.
He's a true believer.
Yeah. That's all fake, right?
Yeah, that's why we're here.
Oh, okay.
Fake news.
Well, Jake, keep our house.
You want it kept?
Yeah.
Yeah, in case you didn't know already, we have a website, AmericanForked.com. You can listen to the show there. If you don't want to listen on the podcatchers, all of the major ones of which we are on.
The apples.
We're also on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at American Forked. We have a voicemail line that you can call or text to send a message if you have requests, if you don't like the show, if you like the show, or whatever. It's 385-DAD-0-MUG is the number. And we're also on Patreon. So patreon.com/American Forked if you'd like to help fund the goings-on.
Jake sounds so precise in the morning.
He knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is another interesting thing. Not that the listener cares, but it's morning. We usually record at night.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's
light
morning.
outside.
It's the first time. So instead of falling asleep the whole episode, we're falling asleep at the beginning. But
Falling asleep at the daytime.
yeah.
Yeah, and if you hear any, excuse me, if you hear any roosters, that's why, because it's morning.
Or goats.
Usually, that's legit.
Or horses.
Yeah, Trent lives on a farm. Apparently, he's got 19 goats and 47 cattle
And 2 horses.
and 2 horses, and a partridge in a pear tree. That's my joke. All right, we're gonna start on micro news. Okay, we're gonna talk about American Fork. So the headline here says American Fork Fire and Rescue take the Firefighters Combat Challenge Trophy for the 3rd consecutive year. You guys are wondering, what is the challenge?
What's the Combat Challenge
go.
Trophy is what I was wondering.
Well, I'll tell you, dubbed by ESPN as the toughest 2 minutes in sports, which, never mind. The American Fork Fire and Rescue Department participated in the 2021 Fire Combat Challenge and took home the trophy. Not totally sure what it is. They just showcased
a citywide competition.
It's
The
a
best fire and rescue in American Fork.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. They're the only ones that entered, and they're the only ones that walked home with the trophy. No, it's actually on ESPN, and probably ESPN 3 or 4. But and nonetheless, they combat their abilities to do things like break open doors and combat
Blow out candles.
fires and blow out candles.
Oh,
Anyway.
real combat stuff.
Yeah.
Crawl on the ground under barbed wire, under live fire.
I don't think that's what firefighters do, but you get the idea, though.
Yeah.
You're on
it,
track.
Does it say if it's a state or national or?
Well, no, but they say it's just ESPN. ESPN is, I don't know if it's national or not. It's really hard to find news from American Fork, so don't criticize it too much.
I'm curious to know, because that's bragging rights if we've got the best fire department in
Jeff,
the country.
we just want you to actually find the news
Yeah, I found out 4 minutes ago that I'm hosting, so I'm
and
doing my
find out
best
about
here.
it. So when we ask you a dozen questions,
Oh,
you know it.
wait. Maybe it says it right here. America's elite firefighters and heroes and heroines.
Okay.
So yeah, America.
Nationwide.
Yeah.
We have American Fork has the best fire department in the country.
in the
Can we say
world.
that?
Yeah.
In the country. Well, because the whole rest of the world just burns.
They don't have
Yeah.
They
fire-
don't even fight fires.
they don't have
that's true.
firefighters anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's in the Constitution.
Everything's made out of bamboo.
They're like, oh, we'll just put it back.
That's cool.
The competition includes climbing a 5-story tower in full PPE gear,
Wow.
forcible entry, victim rescue, and fire hose hoist / drag. That all sounds really intense.
Yeah, it does.
I'm proud to be an American forker.
Am I echoing at all?
No, mine sounds like it too.
Like we're in a different room than normal?
Yeah, maybe.
That's all. It is echoey.
Maybe we can get the firefighters in here to...
You don't sound echoey at all to me. Do I sound echoey to you?
No.
Yeah, I think we're just getting a feedback loop in our own
Thingy.
ears,
That's okay.
Send us a text message.
which I can probably fix.
Let
but
us know how we sound on this episode.
Call in now. Line 3. Go. Oh, we don't have that capability.
Hi.
Don't even. Okay, this one's. I need you guys' both opinions on this, and probably Phil. I think this would have more likely happened to him. This is a Utah story. So 70, like the number above 69, 70 LDS missionaries safe after armed robbery in Mexico.
Whoa.
70.
Maybe it was like a
Have to be a zone conference.
zone
or
conference.
something.
Yeah.
Oh, this is why I wanted to talk to you guys, because I don't know what the hell's going on. The missionaries were gathered for a multi-zone conference. Ding, 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 ding.
We're
What
so
do we have
smart.
for him, Johnny?
We are smart.
Book of Mormon for
You
everybody.
guys get to pick a car out of the garage at Trent's house. No,
Which
no,
is
okay,
actually
not
a
funny.
pretty good deal.
Oh,
Trent laughed. I heard him. So, according to the statement from the church, a spokesman said 2 men entered a church meeting house armed with guns and demanded cell phones, tablets, and wallets. The robbers intimidated the 13 sisters and 57 elders, and a few were hit or kicked during the incident. The mission president and his wife were also assaulted and threatened with a knife, a K knife. The men
what's a K knife?
well, it's a knife spelled with a K.
Spelled incorrectly.
It's spelled wrong.
Maybe that's what they call a butterfly knife.
Yeah, it's a Mexican knife, I
Because
think.
like when you open it halfway, it's a K.
It is the way that
This is a far stretch. The men fled the incident and police were called. None of the missionaries were hurt or required medical attention. I just thought it was very admirable that robbers would go to a group of 70 people and rob them.
Right.
That's noble.
they probably walked in. They're like, "Oh, there are way more people here than I thought."
They're all dressed really nice.
No, they'd plan for that, I'm sure, because
they-
they knew like what 70 people are not going to be armed. These missionaries.
Yeah. What's the previous gang record? Let's beat that.
The latest on that news article is three Mexicans baptized after holding up.
After holding up a whole,
Yeah.
that'd be funny.
3 Mexicans return tablets and convert.
Wow, it must be getting crazy down there because I have a cousin that just went to Cancun with his wife a few weeks ago, and there was a shooting there while they were there, and they like quarantined them in their hotel and stuff.
That was a big deal.
You heard about it?
Yeah, I did actually. I don't know radio or where I heard about it, but I did.
Yeah, my cousin, I guess, was not like at the shooting, but close enough that they were shutting buildings down. Some gang shooting thing, which I was like, whoa, because I've been watching Narcos Mexico lately. And so I'm like all paranoid about Mexico.
Which makes sense because they're like our neighbor.
Yeah.
thousands of miles
at
south.
at least everyone in the world has had quarantine training for the last year and a half.
Yeah.
They're like,
Like
everyone,
quarantine, everyone's just like, oh,
all
okay.
right.
I'll grab my Nintendo DS.
I was
Do I
ready
need to put on a mask?
I'll sit in the corner and stare at my phone.
We'll let you know when it's safe to come
How's
out.
the Wi-Fi?
Well, I think the reason it's such a big deal is because the places like Puerto Vallarta and Cancun are actually protected by the drug lords because they want the American money to show up to those places. So those areas are actually very safe. Like what's the word they use? The gangs down there. You've been watching Narcos.
Yeah, the cartels.
The cartels, yeah. They actually want those areas to remain safe because they sell a lot of drugs to the Americans and not just Americans, Europeans, and all kinds of people come to Mexico for a vacation spot on those areas. And they sell a lot of stuff to them and they help the economy and so they actually keep it safe.
Yeah.
They try to. And that's why it's such a big deal. When I heard about it, I was like, oh crap, some gang member effed up big time because no. That's
well,
a no-no.
where I'm watching in Narcos, Mexico, the cartels are like going to war with each other. This is back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And they had this big shootout in an airport and accidentally shot and killed a Catholic cardinal, which is like a big deal in the Catholic Church, but in Mexico, because pretty much everyone in Mexico is Catholic. So that was a big deal, but so this could either just be some little dinky thing, or it could be that drug wars are starting to spill over into, normally they try and compartmentalize it, because the gist I get from Narcos Mexico, which must be
It's Bible.
the facts,
basically,
is that they do their thing down there. They sell the drugs, they kill people, but they don't want to bring enough attention on them that the U.S. actually does something.
right?
Like they don't want the U.S. sending soldiers in or anything like that. So if it ever escalates too much, everybody goes into hiding, calms down a bit, because they don't want it to get to that point.
Yeah, it's like when you're fighting with your brother growing up, you don't want to yell too loud or your parents are going to hear.
Right.
And then they'll come down and be like,
But
Stop yelling.
But you're still
Stop
going to
yelling,
punch
get down.
him in the arm.
yeah, but if he screams, he
Yeah.
knows we're both screwed.
Yeah, and you just run into the other room.
Yeah.
Put your head under the pillow. Just be like, I was here the whole time, Mom.
Yeah.
So when you say you're watching Narcos Mexico, is that Narcos from Netflix? Or is it
Yeah,
a documentary?
No, it's on it. So there's Narcos, which is
A dramatized iteration of
yeah, but it's Colombia, and then Narcos Mexico is Mexico, obviously. So Narcos is Pablo Escobar and the Cali cartel and the cocaine, and then Narcos Mexico starts with the marijuana in Mexico, but they actually overlap eventually because Mexico starts moving the Colombian drugs.
stuff.
Yeah, the good stuff. So
So it's like Iron Man and Guardians of the Galaxy, and you like both of those, but then they eventually start overlapping.
yeah, it's
okay.
it's exactly like that actually.
yeah. That's where that's where
Narcos got the idea
Stan Lee got the idea from.
from. Oh, I see.
It's really interesting too, because you're like following these drug lords, and you almost kind of not empathize with them or sympathize, but you're kind of rooting for them. Like they're running from the cops, and you're like, oh, don't get them.
Yeah.
But when they finally get them, you're like, I'm glad they got him.
Okay,
That's funny.
I did
It's
actually
like-
want them to catch.
yeah,
That sounds like good writing.
yeah. It's really good. Like I've enjoyed it a lot. There's a lot of porn I gotta fast forward through, but
Yeah. Clean Flicks will handle that for you. You just
Yeah.
send it in.
and they clean it right up with the soap and
It's on VHS, right?
yeah.
That was like the most niche joke ever. Unless you are from Pleasant Grove.
Use VidAngel. That's the digital version of it.
Yeah. Sunrise Video. American
I
Fort.
know. It's so funny.
What is that now?
I don't know. Sunrise Video was in the basement of that place.
Oh yeah.
We used to go there all the time. Stick it to the Blockbuster man.
Yeah, local video store. Yeah, those don't even exist.
Yep. It's the only local video store that didn't have the curtains with the back room, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
That.
Nope.
All right,
nope.
On to national news. And I'm going to let you guys talk about this more than me, and then I'll give my opinion, because some guy shot some guy, and now he's on trial. That's how much I know.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it last week. I forgot his name because it was still like brand new. The trial started, but it's Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle Rittenhouse.
And yeah, go ahead.
Kyle Rittenhouse took his legally owned long gun. I don't know if it was an AR-15 or another rifle, but he took it to the, what was the town?
It was in Wisconsin?
Kenosha, Wisconsin, to some of the riots that they had, the BLM riots. Mm-hmm. And he was interviewed beforehand by a news article.
Oh, this is like way back.
Oh, yeah. This is
2 years
summertime.
ago.
Yeah. And now he's being tried for, anyway, he ended up, he was there, he said, to protect people. And he ended up shooting 3 people. 2 of them died. And the other one was there in the court, with, as a
on trial
witness. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty messy right now.
I was I'd followed it a little bit, and I was just really confused as to why we're even talking about it. I don't know why it's like front page, like national news.
I do know a little more about it than I lead to.
Oh, you've been following it.
Well, no, I haven't.
Some guy shot someone. That's all I know. Yeah, cannot talk about it.
I actually don't know a ton, but I do know that I've seen the videos, and to me, it was fairly obvious. This was self-defense. This guy's not picking people off and shooting them. Like, he's being attacked, and I believe that Wisconsin is a stand your ground state. And I don't know that for sure, but a stand your ground state, of course, is like where you physically are in a spot, and if someone's coming towards you, and you have the ability and the legal right to shoot that person if they are coming to attack you. Mm-hmm. You don't have to flee, and there was a lot of fleeing on his end as well. He tried to get away, and they were pursuing him. So that's what I remember from the videos, but it's been a while since I saw those videos.
So you said that that he legally owned a gun, but wasn't he 17?
Yeah, he was from out of state.
Can you own a gun when you're a minor?
He must have. I don't know what state he's from, but apparently he legally possessed the weapon. And the guy that survived, whom he shot, pointed
a gun,
a handgun at him.
Yeah,
and Kyle Rittenhouse shot him in self-defense.
In the bicep.
Yeah,
huh? Ugh.
Like
sounds like a terrible.
Vaporized his bicep. But it was after he was pointing the gun at him, and that I thought in the hearing, I thought that was the nail in the coffin. When the defense attorney said to, I can't remember his name, who in his pistol, by the way, was illegal. The guy that he shot, that Kyle Rittenhouse shot, he said, so it was not until you pointed your pistol at Kyle Rittenhouse that he fired at you. Was that correct? And he said, yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, then it's done. Like,
yeah.
There's no more to, anyway. So it's still ongoing, I think, at this point.
Yeah, that's what they've said pretty much, is that even the prosecution's own witnesses have made it look like it was in self-defense.
Yeah.
But I guess now they're arguing about a video or something that the judge doesn't want him to zoom in on. And the prosecution is saying, like, look, right here it shows that he raises his gun first or something like that. I don't know. And that's a whole big thing, too. They're like, because, like, when you go to court, judges will give you specific instructions as a jury. Like, you can do this with the evidence. You can look at it this way, but you have to disregard this, or you can't slow motion this part or whatever. And he's saying that they can't zoom in on an iPad to see closer or something. And that's caused some controversy. And there are a lot of there's a lot of aspects of the law that are still like wishy-washy as to stuff like that. Like, can an iPad be used as evidence for a jury because they can manipulate the image or whatever? I don't know. So
Weird.
yeah.
I think we just need to have old-timey cartoon artists draw all the evidence.
Yeah.
They can't be, and they're copyrighted, so you can't tamper them.
All the evidence needs to be in TikTok video format so that they can just like scroll, so they don't lose their attention span. They can just scroll through real fast, be like, okay.
Infinite scroll through all the evidence.
Yeah.
And there's like 40 different ways that every piece is presented.
Yeah. They're just like, the judge is like, everyone go in a room, infinite scroll until everybody puts their head down on the desk when they're done.
And
then vote.
all the descriptions of the TikToks has to be 140 characters or less.
Yeah. and when you come out and announce your verdict, it must be in a TikTok video.
You have to have your phone extended out on your arm.
You have to be twerking when you.
That sounds like Idiocracy. Like, you know, the movie. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. It like, again, I don't know why it's such a big deal. Like, I mean, it's a big deal if you shoot and kill someone. It's a big deal, but like probably hundreds of people in that same month shot and killed somebody. Like, why are we hearing about this one?
Yeah.
There were like gang shootings where they wasted whole families and kids got killed, and we don't hear anything about those.
Yeah. 70 missionaries get robbed?
Yeah.
Come on.
Exactly.
But no, it's true. Like I can't even remember what the average weekend murder rate is in Chicago alone.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Well, and I don't hear about any of them.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. Well,
And I hate to say it because it doesn't push the narrative that's trying to be pushed. That's my opinion.
what narrative?
Oh my gosh. You're gonna put me on the spot like that? The narrative of
Go ahead, Jeff. Spill it.
I don't know, this guy is obviously anti BLM.
Oh, is that? Yeah, I guess that makes more sense. And that's what I thought. Maybe he killed some African Americans or Asians or something. But
the story that came out right after the shootings happened was that he was basically this anti BLM member there to
Racist there to kill people.
hunt down black people.
oh,
Kind of thing. And he shot 3 people. But then, so they pushed that narrative, and then you obviously see that it's incorrect, but for some weird reason, they continue to push that narrative and that story, and that's the story. No, that was the story. That was the story. That was the story. And they just continue and continue just so like they can't admit that they were wrong or something.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
I guess-
I'm talking about the media outlets,
yeah.
you know.
I guess it does make a little more sense though. Like if I heard there was going to be like a pro-China protest in Salt Lake, I'm just trying to pick something that I'm against. Pro-communist Chinese government.
Right, you're not anti-Chinese people.
And I grabbed a rifle, in theory, if I had one, and go to this thing to protect people. That I'm kind of looking for some trouble. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So I can understand that he's like, oh, this was all self-defense, which it probably was, but they're probably asking, well, what were you even doing there? Why? So I wouldn't be surprised if he does land one of these lesser charges that they're talking about. I don't know what those are, but
I think it's gonna get dismissed.
just totally dismissed.
Well, there's talk about it possibly being a mistrial, and I don't remember why exactly.
Yeah.
But it's
Well,
from what I've heard, and I don't know all the details, is that there's argument to be had that it should have never gone to trial in the first place.
yeah, that's certainly true. And some of these cases, like I think that about the Derek Chauvin case. I think that
Which one's that?
That's the cop that knelt on the other guy.
Lloyd.
Once the coroner
Lloyd?
said
Christopher Lloyd.
once the coroner said he died from an overdose, game over. Like I thought. So I think there are a lot of these cases that end up going to court not because of the evidence, but because of the public outcry over them.
Yeah.
So
It does get interesting. It's like someone needs to make the decision, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. The more people are outraged about it or talking about it or whatever, they're the ones that are gonna, get the publicity.
Yeah.
But the black guy that killed the other black guy this weekend in Chicago is not going to get the publicity.
Yeah.
And I can say that with open confidence because I guarantee if you look hard enough, you're going to find that a black guy killed a black guy in Chicago this weekend.
Yeah.
This morning.
I don't know about that.
That's racist, Jeff.
It is, but it's also, it's as racist as you just label me as racist and don't go Google people shot in Chicago this weekend and look it up and see how many people are there.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, I think it's strange. Again, like if he was there, it was self-defense. I don't know.
Yeah.
Apparently one guy was beating him with a skateboard and he shot that guy. And
Yep.
so, and I think that what they're alleging is those people were confused because somebody else shot and killed somebody. And so people are running around in a panic. And then this guy's carrying a gun. And so they thought it was him. So went and beat him with a skateboard and then he shoots him. So it's like all these misunderstandings, which, to be fair, will happen if you go to a potentially violent place carrying a gun.
And a skateboard.
Like if somebody, that does bring a danger onto yourself because now someone else shoots somebody and you're walking around with a gun, like you could get shot by police. Like, because they're like, there's the guy,
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same reason they tell you not to, like, if there's a shooting at a school, don't run in there with your gun to, let the law enforcement show up. Otherwise, they're going to come in and you're holding a gun. And
yeah, at a certain point, it becomes when do you play offense and when do you play defense with the gun?
yeah, and I don't think the average person by far has the capacity to make those decisions. Like your adrenaline is like through the roof. So making rational judgment calls about who to shoot or when to lift your gun is like, probably not.
Isn't that why you should drink alcohol before handling a firearm?
Oh yeah, it mellows you down a little bit.
It goes down a little bit.
Calms your nerves.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
That's true. I'll get on board with that. I would drink for that.
This message not approved by the NRA
Yeah. Or the National Alcohol
or anyone
Advocacy.
Or any decent human being.
Alcoholics Anonymous. Everybody.
Alrighty, we're moving on. So I saw, we're just going to not pretend like I'm going to do world news, and I'm just going to tell you a messed up animal story, okay?
Okay.
All right, good. London's famous river is more exciting than we thought. Seahorses, eels, seals, and venomous sharks have been discovered in the Thames. The result of a quote-unquote health check have shown. Are you saying that they found fossils? You heard about this? You said?
I heard about it, but when you started talking, that's where I thought you were going with it.
Let me
But
see. It says, okay, here's the story. There's poisonous sharks out there?
yeah,
What the hell?
is it like a little one? Or?
Yeah, they're not big.
Oh,
They're not
okay.
like a great white shark with venomous teeth or something. It's like a small shark. And to me, that's just messed up.
Yeah.
Have you ever even encountered a shark?
Like in the ocean?
Yeah, or anywhere. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
In your
I've seen
living
them,
room.
See them at the aquarium or the zoo.
That's so boring.
But I've never, like when I've been swimming in like Mexico, I can't recall a shark. Stingrays and
Yeah.
big fish and turtles. No sharks.
No sharks. I don't think that I have either. And for some reason, I feel like if I had, it was like a little tiny guy, like
Yeah.
a cute one.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen them in the ocean. Pretty rare,
Yeah.
apparently.
Have you ever been intimidated by something in the water?
Oh, yeah.
Like what?
So when I was swimming in Mexico, we went to this place called Selja, which is kind of by Cancun, which is like a big lagoon resort. We loved it because it's like you grab snorkeling gear like as you walk down to the water.
Yeah.
And you snorkel around and you get out anywhere you want. And just hang your gear there. And like there's restaurants all over. It's like all inclusive. It's pretty much all day snorkeling, and they just like stock this thing with everything.
It's like snorkeling with pit stops.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like if you went to this aquarium in Salt Lake
Yeah.
and could just swim with the fish. I'm serious. It's like full of stuff. Anyway, there's like this little cave we found, and we're like kind of swimming in it. And this fish, probably like, I don't know, 800-pound fish comes right at us and has like these huge teeth that are like as long as my fingers. And it just like, and I just like moved to the side, and it like didn't even pay attention to us. It just like floated by.
It's just like,
But as a fish,
I
like,
could eat this.
yeah, I don't know what it was, but I got my heart pumping.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? So
You get in situations like that and you quickly realize, like, am I at the top of the food chain? Maybe I am.
yeah,
I am. No, maybe not.
yeah,
Not in that domain.
yeah. And I've told my moose story before too, where I was hiking and came on some moose, and
Yeah.
that gets you going.
It seems like in the water, though, there's more opportunities to be scared.
Yeah.
Like on land, we've kind of conquered that as a human race, but
Yeah.
the water is like, there's a lot of things down there that I feel like if I came across it, I'd be like, oh, good night. There's a
Yeah.
story that and I'm sure you've heard this story too, the Flaming Gorge, the dam there, that there was divers that were going down to inspect or look. I can't remember exactly what they were doing. But they dived right by the dam, the deepest, I think one of the deepest parts. So they dived down, and they didn't make it down to the depth they wanted because they were being surrounded by these massive fish.
Oh yeah,
And the fish were like intimidating them.
yeah,
And these are professional divers that have been all over the place. But anyway, that was the story. They couldn't make it down to the bottom to do an inspection. I think they were trying to check like silt levels or something like that against the dam. I can't remember, but
yeah,
they're like, nope, to the no. We're going back up.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy down there, and I've said this before. You know, who knows how true it is, but they say that we know less about the bottom of the ocean than like the surface of Mars or something, which makes a lot of sense. It's not like you can just take pictures of it from the surface like you can with a satellite. You got to go down there,
Yeah.
and like then you can only see like 100 feet, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
like, with your light. It's just like pitch black down there. So,
Yeah, it makes sense. And the pressures that we deal with at those levels are way beyond the pressures that we deal with in space
Yeah.
or the no pressure. And, you're
Right.
dealing with a vacuum. So it's a different challenge mechanically and functionally. I wish Mike was here. He probably had a couple opinions about that.
oh yeah, Mike. Thanks, Mike, or Bolter,
That's true.
or any of us nerds.
Or Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
He'd probably have an idea.
He probably would. But yeah, what do you think about all this space stuff? You think we're ever going to get anywhere?
Like with Blue Origin,
and-
SpaceX.
Yeah, mhm.
I truly, I think that I think SpaceX will make it to Mars.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they will.
I don't know. They've already pushed back their moon landing. I'm just really excited for them to get to the moon. Like, that would be cool.
I think SpaceX will make it to Mars. I really do.
so?
Yep. The only reason I say that is because I think Elon Musk is just a weird enough person, and he has that insane drive to get something done. And he has enough power and money, I think, to do it. I mean, look at how far he's come. He's come further than NASA has.
Yeah.
And how long's NASA been around?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know numbers, but I know NASA's been around way longer than SpaceX. And it's a government entity versus a private and whatever. But to me, that's why it's going to happen, because it's a private entity. He has less restrictions on what he needs to do to get it done,
Yeah. Well, and there is the thing Bolter brought up before, that SpaceX, a lot of their funding does come from the government. So it kind of is like NASA in a little way, because I can't remember. I want to say like the third of the budget or something is federally funded, and it's like coordinated through NASA. But but I agree. I think they've come a lot further with the rocket technology than they have in a long time.
And that's more what I'm talking about. Yeah. Not necessarily where their money's coming from, but the technology to do those things.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the funding is obviously a big deal, but SpaceX has also, they have an idea and they have an ability to commercialize what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
And they're doing that.
Yeah.
So.
And yeah, it's really just, I think, going to come down to like getting rich people to go up there is going to fund it. But I think so far we haven't found the like commercial opportunity of space. You know what I mean? Like,
you feel like there's something more?
Well, I mean, there isn't right now. It's like if the moon was covered in gold, that'd be a good commercial opportunity, you know, but other than just flying up there and seeing how cool it is, or getting like universities to fund it to do research,
right.
Like what reason is there to go up there?
Well, there's two reasons that I'm thinking with. One is satellites.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Getting satellites up there. And that's what I'm talking about when I say that SpaceX has been able to commercialize that a lot better, I think, than NASA did.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can launch your own, you know, American Forked podcast satellite.
Yeah, and maybe building like space stations eventually.
Potentially.
Stuff like that.
But then there's a second thing, and I don't remember the details about this, but I think that Virgin Galactic or whatever was trying to go this route because they have Virgin Airlines, right? I can't remember the timing exactly. The cost is ridiculous, but there's some sort of way of flying people in the lower orbits of space to get like from like the Midwest, like Utah, for example. You could fly to China in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's hugely commercial. Like,
yeah.
Now you have a businessman. Like, that's why there's a lot of business that happens between like California and Utah. People actually fly to, I've known people that fly to California, work there for the week, and then they fly home on the weekends.
Yeah.
And they don't do that all the time, but it's very easy because it's like an hour flight, you know?
Well, and they probably, for tax purposes too, because they don't live in California. They just work there. So it's probably cheaper for some people to fly around.
But if you opened up and made it financially like reasonable, it's not like $20,000 a flight or something crazy like that. If you got it down to like a few $1,000s a flight per person, and you could fly a bunch of people from New York to Beijing in like, 40 minutes or an hour, like what? Yeah. Of course that's hugely commercial. Like that would be massive.
It's interesting to think about too, though, because like, okay, let's say 6 rich businessmen can get on a rocket and fly to Beijing in 2 hours. Like how much emissions do these rockets cause? Like I'm not real worried about climate change as much as like just sheer pollution.
Yeah.
Those things got to put out like a city's worth of emissions in a launch. Like, so that's another thing to consider. Like they're like, oh yeah, we're going to be launching rockets all the time. Like, well, that's nuts. That thing like,
well, I don't know if rockets, I don't think the technology is all the way there. Yeah. Because it doesn't make sense to launch a rocket straight up and then you fly sideways and then you land straight down. That's kind of weird.
Well, I think they have to, though, because just to get off the atmosphere. Like, I think they have to get out of the gravity well as quickly as possible. And then even if they're turning and going, they're going so fast by that time it doesn't matter.
Right.
As if they were to, like, take off by, like an airplane, like maybe you're thinking, but...
Let's call this episode, 2 guys that don't know anything about space and rockets talk about space and rockets. Because I'm going to tell you how it really goes.
Exactly.
I think there's a technology there, and this is I really don't know. But it's like a normal airplane, and you get up to the highest altitude that an airplane can get to, and then from there, it's rocket assisted to get out of the atmosphere.
Oh, that's what Blue Origins is, I think. I think it's like more of a
No, I think you're
plane
thinking
type
Virgin
thing.
Galactic.
Or Virgin. That's,
yeah.
That's what I meant.
Because they actually have something right now that has gotten towed,
Yeah.
not like the frog, but like the towing company that took your car.
Right.
They get towed up to a certain level of atmosphere, and then that vehicle launches from there into space.
Yeah.
So they're the ones I think that are pushing that idea more. But to me, I just look at commercialization, and it looks like that would be a way of having continuous revenue of money, flying people around the world, basically.
Yeah.
And, it might be a crazy price, but you know what? There's always that situation where some guy in Australia has got to get up to Canada. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a matter of hours, if possible. Like his girlfriend wants to see him. I don't know.
Yep. $20 million.
Yeah, exactly.
Cha-ching.
So that's the way I see it going. But I don't know. That to me, I'm just like, that's the two ways they commercialize. They get the satellites up into space for people and fly people around in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they will make enough money that they can get out there more and build a base on the moon. See, I kind of feel like if they are going to get to Mars, they're going to have to do it from the moon.
Yeah.
Like they're going to have to launch from the moon or something. Like
Maybe.
just because something to that effect, or meet up with some kind of space station or something, because it's just like to shoot a rocket out there with a little probe on the end that lands and rolls around is one thing, but to send people with enough life support and food and all that, that's a big endeavor.
Well, as always, in pretty much every piece of technology that you can imagine that exists right now in real life that's awesome, and even ones that aren't awesome, they all got thought of in science fiction. I think I've talked about this before on the podcast, but you look at like Dick Tracy and his video phone kind of thing, or his little video device that he'd talk to his commissioner or whatever.
Or Ninja Turtles.
We've talked about. That's a great example. Or, the idea of lightsabers. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they actually can control plasma to a point to be this rod of energy. And you're like, weird.
Yeah.
But lightsabers were thought of, 50 years ago, or how long was Star Wars out? Anyway.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
You get the idea. So, but I know, but you got to look like right now when people write science fiction, they do put thought into how could it happen.
Yeah.
Because if they don't put any thought into that, they lose me as a science fiction story that's like, oh, that's impossible.
Yeah.
So they just lose me. But they explain certain things like, how you can live in a zero gravity environment with the twisty big orbit like spaceship. You've seen that before, right?
Yeah.
No one's actually done that, but the idea's been there forever.
Yeah.
Does it work or not? I don't know. It's not my reality or job to know if it works or not, but the concept's there. And so what I'm getting at is like, you look at movies like The Martian, you've seen that, right? I was talking about that a while ago, but, there's tons of like quote unquote technology and things that exist that got them to get to the space station.
Yeah.
Or like they basically flew in a space station and then they landed in this big rocket and they were able to have anyway, the point is somebody's creating on that and thinking with it. And even though it's not reality yet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it is interesting. And some of those things do come to fruition. But some of them, I feel like we eventually find out, or maybe haven't found out yet, but they may just ultimately be impossible. Mm-hmm. Like Star Wars style holograms are probably never going to be a thing. What
do you mean, the holograms?
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, like shooting out a R2-D2.
But don't they have that in Vegas right now with the Michael Jackson show?
So they have holograms they shoot through smoke and steam and stuff, but not that are just projected into dead air, dead space. So the light has to bounce off of something.
Right. And that makes sense. However, I think it just hasn't had enough time. Let's give us another 100 years.
And you could be right, but like the actual lightsaber, like not a rod that heats up, but that might be impossible because light continually travels. It doesn't just stick out and stop. But and space travel, I think realistically could be a thing that just isn't feasible or possible. Like, certainly within our solar system, I think it's unlikely, but outside, just virtually impossible.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think the biggest limitations is something that we cannot change, and that is our bodies.
yeah, exactly. I don't know if you've been listening to that Expanse
A bit.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's like the big thing. Like, and in all the battles they have, it's like, okay, we're going to war. We found them. They're out there by Jupiter. So we'll be out there in 3 weeks. But that's a week and a half hard acceleration at like 8 Gs or whatever. So they pump all these like fluids into them to keep them alive.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they get to the halfway point, they have to flip around and hit the burner to slow down the rest of the way to come down to like a normal speed or whatever. So it's like
Interesting.
and that's why I like it. It's like,
They explain it.
yeah, they're like, if we really were able to go that fast, this is how we would have to do it. And we couldn't go any faster than this or we would die. Like,
Right.
And even then he's pushing it because he's saying, if we injected ourselves with these whatever that, keeps our heart going and our mind alert or whatever. And even then people die, just like they're going too fast and they stroke out, they call it. They just have a stroke and die from the acceleration. Right. So
yeah, it's interesting because even traveling at high speeds in our atmosphere and with gravity and stuff like that we're used to, I don't know, that's really hard on people too.
Yeah,
like if you want to be a test pilot, guess what? That's the top 1% of the top 1%. You know, like there isn't many people that are going to be putting their bodies in there, and even then, those people suffer.
Yeah.
So the number one limitation is the body, but then I hate to say it, but they have answers for that too. Like in Ender's Game, and not Ender's Game, the actual movie, but like in the Ender universe, there's one called, I think, Speaker of the Dead that I listened to, that they cryogenically freeze the people.
Yeah.
So it's like, cool, you're frozen, and we'll travel for, sometimes it takes them 60 years.
Yeah.
But he's cryogenically frozen. So it's an interesting story, not to get sidetracked on that story, but he cryogenically freezes himself so much that he is long gone. Like he's like hundreds of years outside of his lifetime, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But because he cryogenically freezes himself so much, he's like a legend, and like they have stories about him, and they don't realize that he's still alive.
Oh yeah.
And anyways, but the point would be, that's another solution. So you freeze somebody,
right?
You send them to Mars. It doesn't matter if it takes 12 years.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's just like that might be something that won't ever be possible,
right?
To freeze someone and have them just be okay when you.
But there was a frog that one time that they put in a thing and then they froze it. And
right.
Frogs are like people.
And maybe they will. It could be. But it could also be, even if we can freeze them, we can't, like even in the Expanse, we're talking orders of magnitude faster movement. Like nowhere close like Star Trek or any of those, like faster than light. But it's like
Spaceballs.
Way faster than we could achieve even remotely right now. And it might just be like we could make the biggest rocket in the world and shoot it as fast as we can, and it's still going to take 4 years to get out to Jupiter or whatever, And so we could just be limited by physics more than our technology. It might just be physically impossible.
So then, I don't know why I have to solve all your problems, Phil.
Solve them.
So then, have you ever seen Black Mirror?
Yeah.
And there's a few episodes about this that are really messed up.
Yeah.
So all you do is you build a robot and you download your consciousness into the robot.
And I thought about that too.
And the robot can handle 1 billion Gs and you're fine.
Right. But when there's a 10-minute light delay between you and the robot, you're still like, okay, lift your arm here.
I mean, you're dead. Your body's gone.
Oh, you're
you
saving
put
the
whole
consciousness. So like an android, pretty much.
No, it's a real person.
Well, yeah, but
they have the rights.
Well, an android is a person in a robot, pretty much.
Oh, wait.
Or like its brain.
Do you mean Avatar? No, an Avatar is what I'm thinking of.
Oh, I don't know.
Anyways, we agree. We We download the body into a USB stick, probably like 160 gigabytes.
The consciousness.
Yeah.
The human mind.
We murder the body, and then we plug the USB stick into the robot
Okay.
that can either be shaped like Wall-E or iRobot. I'm thinking the iRobot model is a little better.
Okay.
And then we send it to Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's wrong now?
Just download the human consciousness into a USB stick.
How many gigabytes do we need?
I don't know.
That might be the stop right now. I think the rest of it's doable, but I don't think we have a memory stick big enough.
Have you ever watched Chappie?
No.
Oh, it's good. It's you know that guy that did District 9?
Oh, that's a good movie.
It's like
yeah.
a South African.
I don't know him.
A lot of his movies, they've got like, or maybe it's New Zealand, South Africa or New Zealand.
Oh, don't mix them up, buddy. They'll get mad.
But anyway, there's this one Chappie where they have these robots and
Oh, I think I've heard of it. Actually,
the guy like pretty much creates AI in one of the robots, and they're like teaching it things because it's like a child. And within like a week or whatever, it figures out how to like plug people into the computer and download their consciousness and stick them in other robots. Like, but he's like a good robot. Like,
right.
It's an interesting watch, but
So yeah, that's fine. Well, that
just
sounds
do
like
that.
a problem solved.
okay, let's do it. That's the funny part is like any of these things like cryogenic freezing, downloading consciousness, going fast enough, they're all like, it's like we're almost intentionally isolated in all these ways. You know what I mean? Like,
What do you mean intentionally isolated?
like kind of like we were put here and we're like, you can't go anywhere.
Right. It's a twap.
Yeah.
That's also from Star Wars.
It's a twat.
It's a twap.
Oh, yeah.
It's a twap. Yeah, it's a. I think we're off. We're the radiator springs of the universe.
Yeah.
we're off the beaten path. They put a freeway in the other galaxy, and no one comes over here and bothers us, and we can't really get that far.
Yeah.
So we'll run out of gas before we get there.
That's the one thing, before we talked about, I was going to say Furby's paradox. Fermi's paradox. That's one of the things they say, like, well, why can't we communicate with other people? Like, one reason might be, it might just be impossible or so improbable that, like, by the time a civilization gets to the point where it has the capability, there won't be any civilizations around that are at that point at the same time, you know,
Oh, right.
and pointing at the right place and listening to the right place at the same time might just be so improbable that there could be a billion out there and, you know, you'd never notice each other.
Yep.
Such a big place, space.
Why do we get so philosophical in the morning?
I don't know. I think it's because Jake left.
Oh, yeah. I miss Jake.
Oh, Jake.
I remember him.
But yeah.
We should download Jake's consciousness so he doesn't have to be here.
I like that guy.
I like him.
Yeah.
I want to download Jake's consciousness and put him in like a Dyson vacuum.
Yeah.
He can be with me all the time.
You know what you need to watch on YouTube is them making the rockets right now. There's a video.
Who making them?
The company that makes the rockets for, I think, SpaceX or Blue Origins or one of those.
I think SpaceX makes their own.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
But there's this.
Okay.
I can't remember what they said, what company it was for, but they're like the subcontractor of that company that's making the rocket. Anyway, they're like, so this is what we start with, and it's like this 2-inch thick sheet of aluminum that's like 40 feet wide and like 300 feet long. It's like insane. And they've got this planer in there, like a CNC router that's like flattening this whole thing, like
precision.
Yeah, down to the like 1,000th of an inch or whatever, like because it doesn't come in flat enough from the whatever. And they like cut all these grooves out of it, and then they cut it into these strips, and then this girl, they have it come through this big press that comes down and like folds it up a little bit, and the girl does it by hand. She's got like a winch in one hand pulling it in, and then her foot's on the press that comes down, and she's just like chink chink chink, like doing like 1/8 inch at a time, and it's rolling this thing into like a circle.
Wow.
And then they weld it together with this thing they called stir welding, which I'd never even heard of, but they don't even melt the metal. They like stick a like kind of a drill bit on it that spins really fast and heats it up, and it like stirs the metal together through the pressure and the heat.
You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, and
It's like a KitchenAid blender.
kind of, yeah. And they do that so instead of they did that, they said, because it's stronger and it doesn't add the mass of like the weld bead or something.
It has to be balanced, I think.
Yeah. It is like crazy stuff, but you can watch it on YouTube, like how they, but there are a lot of parts where they're like, oh, we can't show you this, we can't show you this, or
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
but-
Interesting. I'll have to look that up because I know there's a lot of companies, and there's a couple, even one here in Utah that makes rockets. Thiokol?
Yeah, they're the ones that made the Challenger, or what's the one that blew up?
Oh, yeah. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
But they still do
Yeah.
up in northern Utah.
Yeah, I think so.
Walter works there, my stepbrother.
That's right.
And he's literally a rocket engineer,
Yeah.
a rocket scientist.
You should ask him, say when we want to go like tour the place for the podcast.
Yeah, I should have him come down and be on the podcast, but he doesn't like
yeah.
SpaceX.
Oh, he doesn't?
Yeah, we'd probably argue.
Well, that would be great.
Oh,
We
okay.
could have him down and find out all about why you shouldn't like SpaceX.
I think it's just because it's private.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah, I
He
don't
thinks
know.
it should be government.
I think he's admires what they've accomplished, but he's like, I don't know. I'll have to ask him again. Maybe
well,
on the podcast. That'd be fun.
Let's get him down.
A rocket engineer.
Yeah.
We can have him listen to this episode so he'll know what he's getting into.
Yeah.
Like, this is the level that you need to explain
Yeah.
things. See how we sound dumb? Explain it like
Can
that.
you come and talk down to us?
Yeah, he's up there and he's doing great. He said, it's funny, when he first got the job, he's like literally like top of his class at University of Utah chemistry, and like just so good, like done so well. He gets a job with like, or an internship or a job with like a real rocket company. And like, he's like, all I do is file paperwork.
Yeah.
He's like, I have no science, no math needed. I just file paperwork.
Huh?
But now he's worked his way to different areas, I think. I don't know. I haven't talked to him for a while about it, but
Yeah.
definitely interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I know we always bring up SpaceX stuff at family gatherings, and he's always kind of like, oh, SpaceX.
That's funny.
Good stuff. Well, this has been fun. Taking over Trent's house,
Yep.
kicking Jake out.
Yep.
But don't worry. We'll use our fancy space age software to mimic an outro with Jake.
Yeah.
Him saying goodbye. Because really, we are the masterminds of our future in the sci-fi world. I don't know. Does any of this make sense that I'm saying right now?
Yeah. You're going to make a virtual Jake, like
Yeah.
how they make those Star Wars people come back to life.
Yeah. See, that part didn't make sense to me.
The deep fake thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
I do.
You know that guy that made those, Disney finally hired him.
Oh, wow.
Because he was like making people's faces different and stuff. But you know how in some of the later Star Wars things, like the Mandalorian, I think is the big one.
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker is in the end of it, and they've like digitally
Oh,
recreated
yeah.
him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this guy got on with his deep fake thing and made one that looked like 10 times better, and claimed to do it in like a couple hours. And Disney finally hired him
Wow.
to come do all that stuff. But I was laughing because there are a few of those. Like they did it with Tony Stark, Princess Leia. Like
Where they turn them into like the younger version
Yeah.
of themselves, or the older version, or
Yeah.
some other version of themselves.
But it comes along with the uncanny valley, which is that thing they say where it looks real, but it's like there's something weird about it that like
Right.
makes humans go, that's not
That's
right.
not right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it is. But these deep fake things are like almost spot on. You're looking
Yeah.
at it, you're like, that looks
You
just
don't even
like 'em.
question it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like that looks just like him. The funniest ones are where they put like Arnold Schwarzenegger's face on like someone else's body or whatever. Like,
I don't think I've seen enough of this to
oh
think
really?
it's funny.
You should YouTube deep fake stuff. It's hilarious.
Okay.
It's absolutely.
It'll make me question everything that's ever happened.
Yeah, well, and it also kind of freaks you out because then you're like, whoa, Joe Biden could be given a press conference tomorrow and it could not, and it might not even be real. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's already very close to that level of,
Sophistication.
yeah. And apparently doesn't take a lot of time. They pretty much take some videos from the people who were talking
All the different motions they make.
and some videos from the people who they want their face on it, and the computer just does it. Like, and they have to tweak a few things here or there, but it's like in a couple hours you can change a 1 minute video into a totally different person's face.
The next thing you know, Shrek is giving a award acceptance speech at the Grammys.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And they didn't even have to like animate him.
It was really Mickey Rourke.
Yeah. But it makes you wonder, like, about acting in general. Like, are actors just going to cut, like, will the next Tom Cruise just walk in when he's like 20 and just like get all animated, scanned or whatever, and then the rest of his life it's just like the same age? I mean, Tom Cruise is the same age anyway, but
I get what you mean. You like digitize somebody and then they can just have the rights to their digital body or something, and they can just get paid as an actor from there.
yeah.
And then they're just Buzz Lightyear and Woody, and they just
Right.
animate them.
Or maybe they just voice act for the rest of their life or whatever.
Right.
If they want to be this younger person or whatever. I don't know. It's just like bizarre how that kind of thing can.
And then producers could be like, I want to cast, but I want like young Robert Redford
Yeah.
with old,
Yeah.
Tom Cruise and middle-aged so-and-so and 20-year-old Michelle Pfeiffer. I don't
Yeah.
know,
And
whatever.
Katherine Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Right,
Like,
exactly. That's who
in
I want.
color.
That's who I want casted in this role.
Yeah.
That would be
And-
crazy.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I think they're getting pretty close to that. Now, the thing about it is voices.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to just say, take your voice and turn it into like someone else's voice. Even though
Right.
you'd think it would be harder to do it visually, visually it kind of does make more sense than audibly. There's just so much that needs to go on.
And there's little things too about voices.
Yeah, like even
Like-
if you sound like them, you're not talking like them. you know?
Exactly.
You're not. You don't use the same inflection, the same tempo. It's
You're not
just-
speaking like them. Phil.
right. Exactly.
See,
Yeah,
there's an example right there.
I agree with what you said.
Phil would have said talking like them. I would have said speaking like them.
Yeah. Or
And say the exact same thing.
yeah. Thank you, English.
So like, if anyone thinks that they're me and I say talking like them, then you know it's not me. Okay.
Because you would say it differently.
I would say speaking like me.
Yeah, that's how they caught what's his face. Was it the Unibomber?
The unibrower. The guy with the
No,
unibrow.
I just watched that thing with that one guy from that one thing. What murder was it? I think it was the Unabomber or one of those bombers.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they caught him. He was living up in a cabin in Montana.
Yeah, this is the Unabomber.
Yeah, with no connection to anything. And his brother or something, it was like, whoa, his letters sound like a thesis he did in college.
Right.
Which is funny. It tells you how much like theses are actually read by other people, like
Yeah.
their professors and stuff. Because
Yeah.
you'd think there'd be a dozen people that'd be like, oh yeah, I've heard that before. But
The brother is the only one that actually gave a crap.
yeah, exactly.
And then he went to prison.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh, the brother did?
No.
Oh,
The bomber.
It's not Ted Bundy. What's that guy?
Kaczynski.
Kaczynski. That's right.
Well, this has been definitely back and forth to space and back, from bombing to blowing up space rockets.
Yeah.
Is that a comparison? Okay.
Or blowing up people's original faces with computer rockets.
That's right. Well, all that has been the American Fork Podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Yeah, and thank you, Jake.
Good night, folks. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
That's all, folks.
Mary, 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 American Fork.